Hello, friends. Welcome.
We're glad you could join us once again. Well, we've been out picking lavender and catnip
And yarrow.
and yarrow. And you gathered some lemon balm?
Some lemon balm. Yeah, it's this time of gathering right now before summer solstice hits in the middle of June. This is our really busy gathering time as herbalists and gardeners. If you grow things, you know exactly what we're talking about. One of my kids brought her girlfriend over and they helped me gather lemon balm. Lemon balm's one of her favorite drinks, but she only has ever had it dried. And so I told her, well, if you've only ever had it dried, you are in for a treat. So they came over. I said, I'm going to gather lemon balm. Why don't you guys come over and help me gather lemon balm, and we will make some magical lemon balm tea. And so we did. And we gathered it, and they were amazed at how wonderful it smelled, because dried lemon balm just doesn't have that flavor or that taste. And so we made a nice infusion of lemon balm, served it over ice, and they were blown away.
Did you put spearmint in it?
Not that one. We also that same day made full moon tea with lemon balm and spearmint then. And of course, that was also delicious and magical. So yeah, we love doing that full moon tea and collecting our herbs, gathering with intention, and we ask permission, we gather with intention, and we give reciprocity, whatever that may be. And so it might be making sure that we're planting seeds of that plant again the next spring, or in some way having a reciprocal relationship with those plants that we gather.
So the lavender has been ready to gather, and we'll be gathering it probably for the next couple of weeks, because there are little buds coming on also. Oh my goodness, it smells so divine.
Amazing. Divine is the perfect word for it. It is divine.
Just a heavenly smell.
A good aromatherapy in the garden.
Yes. So whatever is out there to be gathered, it's time to do gather.
Yeah. So there are herbs that we plant, that we gather, and then there are herbs like the wild ones, like yarrow, that we gather as well. And we love the wild plants, and we do have, like we said, we do have herbs that we plant that aren't native, and we always try to, whenever possible, prioritize native plants when we are doing any kind of planting. It's just so very important. We cannot overstate the importance of native plants. In fact, this coming Saturday is National Prairie Day. It was founded by the Missouri Prairie Foundation in 2016, and it's celebrated the first Saturday of every June. So this Saturday, June 3rd, is National Prairie Day. So when we talk about native plants, we're talking about prairie plants here in our area, because we live on the prairie of Kansas. And prairies, people don't really realize, they just look at a bunch of, plants growing, and they don't maybe think it's that important. But prairies are vitally important to the earth and the native ecosystems, the local ecosystems. They help native pollinators and wildlife. They really are a self-sustaining, beautiful ecosystem. They host a ton of biodiversity. They support, in fact, thousands of plant and animal species in the prairie. There are deep root systems to native prairie plants that hold the soil in place, retain moisture, and help sequester carbon, which means that prairies are critical to help curb global warming. It's very important that we both preserve the prairies that are still in existence, and that we reestablish prairies wherever we can. Some of the problems that prairies face are, of course, human disturbances and the introduction of non-native plant species that can threaten some of these remnant native prairies that are still around. And there are still a few remnant prairies that are around, but they are getting fewer and fewer, and they need our protection. Plus, not only the big native prairies, but it's also important to remember that you can also, in your own backyard, no matter how big your yard is, you can, by prioritizing native plants, create your own small native prairie to do your part, and you will be amazed. My friend and one of our HH students, our home herbalism students, Melissa, she lived in a very busy part of Kansas City, kind of on the corner. And it was funny because she would tell me stories that her neighbors would say, oh, I see a butterfly, it's going to Melissa's yard, because her yard was the one that she had her own little section of native prairie. It was just a small area, but she had enough to be a wonderful, welcoming environment for a lot of wildlife and insects. And so it's like beautiful butterflies and bees. And And those animals we need to think about, you can only fly so far before you need more food when you're an insect. And so it's important that we all give them a little bit of food along the way so that all the way up the food chain, including ourselves, have, a beautiful, healthy, wonderful ecosystem.
I think all of us can put in a little patch. If you live in the city, especially on the suburbs, put in a little patch of prairie, whether it's a corner or whatever. And some of the wildflowers are just so gorgeous.
They are.
Yesterday, I gathered my first Queen Anne's lace.
Oh, that's right.
Which is just beautiful. I was thinking as you were talking about this, that, we're part of that wildlife that needs this prairie also, and the wild plants. Every time we lose that, it's lost pretty much forever.
Well, for sure, yeah. And it's so important, especially in areas where development will have a really negative impact on the wildlife and the ecosystem as a whole in the area. It's very important for us to stand up, go to city council meetings, and make our voices heard. It's very important.
Sometimes it seems like they're never heard, but
yeah, it's sometimes hard to fight against City Hall.
It is, but I think you can gather enough people together.
At least to make to make an impact.
Or
we
make
hope.
others aware of.
Yeah, for sure.
Even your neighbors aware of.
Yeah, and I think it's important that all of us just keep learning and teaching about how important this really is.
And the next generations probably are most important, the people that will help protect this, and they're the ones we have to depend on. So we need to teach them now.
Yeah. And this summer, go out and find, if you can find any areas that are untouched and are still wild. Yeah, go out and enjoy that wild, because we are part of the wild, and our psyche, our soul, our spirit needs that. And it's so, there's just that deep breath that you take when you go out into nature that nothing else really gives us. It's that sense of connection, that sense of peacefulness, that sense of being connected between with everything, with all of it. Yeah, it's very important. And this summer, of course, always just draws people outside, doesn't it? That beautiful weather, the sun's shining. And as we near summer, we are getting ready to drink a lot more of our summer breeze tea, which is our favorite summer drink. And if you've come into the shop already this spring, we've been serving it, and we've gotten such great feedback from that tea. It's a hibiscus-based tea. And there are many species of hibiscus. You may grow your own hibiscus. I grew hibiscus for a while, and the flowers were huge, like dinner plates. And so there are all kinds of hibiscus. But the hibiscus that we're talking about as an herb that we use in our tea is Hibiscus sabdorifa, and it's native to Africa. It's actually an edible plant related to okra. And a lot of people don't realize that, but when you look at the flowers, they do look like okra has similar types of flowers. So in the tropic, the leaves are consumed as a vegetable, like a spicy version of spinach. It's actually, one of its many, many names is Jamaican sorrel, because it's used like sorrel in that area. And the calyx and the flowers are both used as flavoring, coloring, and teas. But for the herb, we use what's called the calyx. And the calyx is the part of the plant that is behind the flower. When the flower is spent, the flower kind of falls off. The calyx then folds back up, and then the seed pod is created inside of that calyx. And so when you're growing it, if you ever decide to grow it, it grows as an annual here, a fast-growing annual here, or you can grow it, if you live in zones 8 through 11, you can grow it as a perennial. But you can collect it either when the seed pod is just beginning to form, if it hasn't formed, or even if it has formed. You just peel those calyx parts off, which are a dark, dark red, and dry them, and that's what that is. And it has this delicious, unique, citrusy, tart flavor. Sometimes it's described as a kind of a combination between cranberry and raspberry. In Iran, it's known as sour tea, and it's been used for centuries, both as a food and in cooking and in traditional medicine. It's very rich in antioxidants and anti-inflammatory properties. It can help reduce inflammation. And studies show that hibiscus may improve cardiovascular health by lowering blood pressure, cholesterol levels, and triglycerides, and can also help soothe our gut and improve our intestinal health. A lot of times it's used to help with weight loss efforts, to help reduce insulin resistance, and we really love, of course, its delicious taste, its beautiful coloring, and its cooling properties. It's wonderful for summer because it is actually a cooling plant.
Now, hibiscus, I've used the dried hibiscus as a coloring agent. Instead of buying red food coloring, which we don't want to do.
Exactly.
We can use the hibiscus, and I put that in my lip balm and so on.
Yes.
And it's a great coloring
Perfect.
agent. We have Summer Breeze packaged up and on the shelves.
Hibiscus and holy basil and spearmint and a lot of other herbs in that tea come together just to make a really delicious, cooling tea that's wonderful to serve, well, to yourself or to any company
others.
that you have as well.
Yes.
We're closed this weekend, but we can do porch pickup anytime. The next time we're going to be open is going to be June 7th and 8th. Next weekend, we hope that you'll come out and see us try some of our Summer Breeze tea.
And we'll read a little quote here from Gatherings of the Good
Gatherings
Earth.
from the Good Earth, Mom's book.
There is life in the ground where it is stirred up, and it goes into the person who stirs it. It's unknown.
That's good to think about.
It is.
Yeah.
And with that, we'll plan to see you next week.
Good Earth blessings to you.